So good morning, everybody. Today, that is Thursday, June 9th, 2021. And we are in the class for Master in Business Administration, second semester student. The subject is Marketing Management. And today we are going to start with a new topic. And this topic, as you can see on your slide, is labeling. Now, let's get started. Now, if we talk about labeling, labeling means putting on identification marks on a package so that it may be identified easily. You have labeled, you have put in certain identification marks or some written information on that packet so that it may be identified, and this is called as labeling. Label is an important characteristic of a product as it generates information about the product, right? It is a part of the product which contains information about the producer, brand, grade, and other important information about the product. Meaning hereby labeling is a part of the product that contains a wide information about the product, right? Moving further, packaging, branding, and labeling go together and constitute an integral part of a product planning and development, right? Because branding, packaging, and labeling, all three are very closely related to each other and are complementary to each other and totally inseparable from each other, right? If branding is there, then packaging has to be there, and ultimately labeling has to be there, because without labeling, branding and packaging are meaningless. Now, label is that part of a product which provides brief information about the product to the consumer, about the seller, and rest of the information about the product, right? It contains of multiple information about the product. Now, the main purpose of label is to give information to the consumer about the product, the benefits of the product, the features of the product, etc. Label is a part of package, or it is attached directly to the product. Both are there, or normally you might have seen both of them, right? The labeling is there on the package of the product also, and labeling is there on the product also in many of the cases. Now, there is a tendency to include brand, grade, precautionary measures, retail price, unit price, etc. on the label, right? All this information you may find on the label of each and every products nowadays, right? Moving further, packages and their labels should give buyer accurate information about the content and use of the product, right? Informed customers are necessary for free marketing economy, right? Labeling should be able to recognize the labeling should be able to inform the consumer about the product, because consumer have full right of information about the product, right? So through labeling, you are providing entire information of the product to the consumer. Labeling usually contain all the information about the product, including the ingredients of the product, that what are the components which are there in that particular product. Now, moving further, types of labels. There are different types of labels which are present, right? William J. Stanton has classified four categories. William J. Stanton has classified these labels into four different types or four different categories. First is your brand, then is your grade, then is your descriptive level, and fourth is your information level. Okay. First label is brand label, second label is grade label, third label is descriptive label, and fourth label is your information label. Okay. Now, the first is brand label. What is brand label? These labels are exclusively meant in order to popularize the brand name of the product. Like cosmetics, manufacturers use brand labels because they do not want to popularize the product, rather they want to popularize the brand. So brand label focuses on highlighting the brand and they try to establish good branding of the product in the mind of the consumer. So brand label is a label that aims at creating a lot of brand awareness among the employee and make your product develop as a brand and make the consumer recognize your product as a brand, right? So brand label ultimately highlights or ultimately market or ultimately advertises brand, right? So in order to do the brand marketing, or in order to establish your product as a brand, you need to use brand labeling, because in brand labels particularly brand is highlighted more as compared to rest of the things, right? These kind of organizations are very much interested in popularizing brand name for their products. Like there are different brands which have been established in their area. Like if we talk about washing powder, Surf is the ultimate brand, which the name is used. Earlier it was Nirma. If we talk about washing powder, people means Nirma or people means Surf at present. If we talk about detergent cake, people means Rin, right? So they have developed themselves. They have done brand labeling in such an aggressive manner that their brands have become generic product. Example, cigarette sweets, right? These are certain examples in this category. Now next is your grade labels. Grade labeling. Okay, this is the second form of labeling which give emphasis to standards or grade of the product. It is used an indirect method of product identification, right? It is used grade labeling. What we are doing, we are trying to emphasize standards on grades, standards or grades. It is a method of product identification, loft, leafy, dusty, etc. Like we have graded the product is same but the grade is different. Now third is your descriptive labels. Descriptive labels aims at providing a descriptive information, are descriptive in nature, and they aimed at providing descriptive information like features of the product, different uses of the product, etc. Like milk and food products are having descriptive labels particularly, right? Milk products, food products, etc. have descriptive levels, or other household products have descriptive levels on them, right? Now coming down to the next, fourth is your informative level, right? Informative levels. These are such levels which aims at providing maximum information to the consumer about that particular product, right? These labels contain information like product characteristics, methods of using, proper methods of using the product characteristics, etc., right? In cases like medicines, detailed labels are used in order to make the consumer fully aware about the right methods of using and storing those medicines, so that those medicines will remain in their full potency and will benefit the patient to the fullest, right? So that is how there are four kind of labeling, as we have seen. First is your brand labeling, second one is your what was the second labeling? What was the second labeling? Second labeling was grading, third was descriptive labeling, and fourth is informative labeling, right? So these are the four different types of labeling as Stanton has classified, right? So let's move on to the next slide. Now this slide talks about essential informations about labor. Okay, what is that information which need to be mentioned on a label, right? When we talk about labeling, then what is that particular information? What information should be mentioned on the label of the products, right? Now our label will set to be a good label if it helps our customer in order to make decision to purchase the product or not purchase the product. And how can he get this information? He get that information by reading the label that is there on the product, that whether that product contains that particular features or that particular thing that he is looking for or not. Now, other than information which is mandatory to provide on the label, the label should information about the product is compulsory, right? Any label, any company has to provide information about its product on labeling. Labeling for every product is compulsory. It is made compulsory by law. That is the reason companies are required to provide information about their products on labels, right? But other than information about the product as made statutory by the law, what other things the label is doing, we will find it out now. The first is picture of a product, accurate detail about the size, color, and appearance of the product, right? The label usually contains picture of the product. It contains detail about the appearance and size of the product, right? What color and what appearance, right? You might have seen on the packages that this product medium, large, extra large, yeah, this product itne liters, itni capacity, all these things are mentioned on the label. And same thing is that of color also. If you are going to purchase a mobile handset, color is always written on it. Along with that, the same the picture of the same color mobile control will also be there on your package, right? Right. Right. So, right. Fine. Now, the second point, description of raw product used along with the methods of processing, right? The label should provide the information about the raw material which is being used in order to manufacture that product, and what is the procedure by which that raw material is converted into a product, right? What were the methods of processing for that particular raw material, so that if you are allergic to any particular method of processing, right, you may avoid that particular product. Next, the third point, it talks about directions of use, including cautions against misuse. The product label should also be containing the directions how to use the product particularly, and it should also be containing the precautions that you should be taken while using that particular product, right? So that you may be able to have the best utilization, or you may be able to utilize the product to its full capacity in order to get its best advantage, right? Fourth point, possible adverse effect, if any. If your product is likely to provide give any adverse effect, right, then you should be those adverse effect or those side effects of the product should also be specified on the label of the product, so that the consumer before purchasing the product should be aware about the side effect or after effects of the product, right? Fifth is your brand name. Your brand name should be specified on the label, right? It is very much necessary to specify your brand name, and all the companies are doing it, because with labeling they are advertising their brand. Everybody wants to advertise their brand, so your brand name should also be there on the label so that it may be identifiable. Next is your date of manufacture and expiry. Date of manufacture and date of expiry of the product should also be there on the brand, so that a consumer will be easily identify when the product is being manufactured and when the product is going to be expired. Next is your statutory warnings, if any. If there are any statutory means legal warning, then those legal warnings should be mentioned on the product, right? So these are some of the important details that our label should contain in itself, right? Every label should be having at least these details that I have, that you have seen on this last two slides. Now coming down to the next topic in labeling is the functions or advantages of labeling. What are the functions that label is performing? What are the different functions that a label is performing, and what are the advantages of labeling? Right. Mainly label perform certain major labeling perform certain basic functions which you may be able to see on this slide, right? And what are those basic functions, or what are those main advantages of labeling? We will find it out, right? The first is your labeling gives a unique identity to the product, right? It's but obvious labeling creates an identity of the product, and a different label on different products creates different identity or differentiation of the product, and thus labeling creates a unique identity for your product, right? It makes the consumer easier to identify the product. With the help of labeling, it becomes easier for the consumer to identify the product, because different products are having distinct labels, right? The second is your it enables the manufacturer to give brief instructions to the traders and the consumers as regards to handling of the product. Label also provides information to the consumer and the seller that how to handle that product properly, right? So that you may be able to use the product properly, and there should not be any leakage, breakage, and spoilage of the product. So this kind of caution, this kind of instructions may be provided to both the consumers and the sellers of the product through label. Moving further, now the third point, it labeling can be used to highlight the price of the product. The retailers will not be able to charge higher prices for the customer, because the price, the maximum retail price, that is MRP, is mentioned on the label. So label contains the price of the product, the maximum retail price of the product. Maximum retail price is that the maximum price on which a product may be sold. So the consumer, the seller may not be able to sell the product before the maximum over and above the retail price, the over and above the maximum retail price, the consumer may not be able to sell the product. Now the fourth point, it acts as a promotional tools by highlighting these special features of the product. Labeling also acts as a promotion tool and as a silent salesman, because it provides all the information about the product to the consumer, and that is the reason it may be utilized as a sales promotion tool for the product, right? Now fifth is labeling is used by manufacturers to seal the packages to ensure that the consumers get the genuine product, and there will not be any adulteration also, right? Labels are generally printed even on seals, which are used to seal the carton or the boxes of the product, so that any kind of any kind of adulteration, any kind of fraud, any kind of cheating may not be done, right? And these seals, these seals are made in form of labels, right? So this is another advantage of labeling, right? This is the another method, or this is the another function that labeling is performed, and this is the another manner in which you will be using labeling in order to provide any kind of fraud, in any kind of fraud in as far as your product is concerned, right? So as these labels are used as seal, so you will be getting number one, you will be getting the entire information about the product. Moreover, you need not to paste any additional seal or any extra seal on your product other than this label. So these labels are used in the form of seal also. Now, next point or of advantage is that label of different colors can be used to suggest different grades of product, right? You may create a color differentiation by using different color label with different grades of product. Like you are having 5 grades of product, all 5 grades of product should be having different color labels, so that on the basis of color also the grade of the product may be identified. Because a company like you see, let's take the example of car, Maruti Swift Desire has 3 to 4 models: entry model, middle model, and top model, right? All those three are Swift Desires, but the features of all the three cars are different. Some cars are having, you know, airbags on the front seat also. The top model is having all four airbags. The entry level model is having just you know, auto glasses, button operated glasses for the front doors and not for the back doors. The top model is having all the four you know, window glasses, button operated, and rest of the thing. So you know, it's just an example. So you may use different color label for different grades of product in order to provide proper product differentiation to your to one grade of product with the another grade of product. Next is your labels contain the essential information about the product, that we have already discussed, that labels contain all the essential information about the product. As per the law, it is mandatory that label should contain information about the product, manufacture, price, date of manufacturing, date of expiry. These things are compulsory to be mentioned by the company on the label. These information need to be mentioned on the label compulsorily by the manufacturer as per the law, that these informations are such that should be there on label of each and every product, right? In case of those products which do not have any expiry, like television, computer, etc., they do not have any date of expiry, right? Food products, pharmaceutical products, cosmetic products, they do have a date of expiry, but consumer durables and rest of the things do not have any date of expiry. So date of manufacturing need to be mentioned there, and as there is no date of expiry, so date of expiry is need not to be mentioned there. Now, in labeling, you might have seen certain standardization and quality marks, right? We'll discuss all those standardization or quality marks that are there on labeling one by one. Now, there are certain standardization marks that facilitates the sale of goods because the customers are satisfied by seeing those marks, that yes, this is ISO, this is ISI mark, this is this product is egg mark, so this product is a quality product. Government has created these standardizations for the product, and those products who have who have standardized in that direction may take that particular mark from the government authorities on its product and may use it as a sales promotion tool, that my product is ISI certified product, that my product is better than other product because that is not ISI certified. So these type of standardization mark do contribute to the sales promotion of your product. And consumer will definitely, we as a consumer will want to purchase those products which are having these standardization mark, because these standardization mark enjoys a lot of goodwill in the mind of the customer, and it's true also. Now, standardization helps the middleman in doing his work in promoting the sale, and thus they can properly communicate the characteristics of the standardized products to the consumer, and the consumer can easily trust the product because that product is having a standardization mark as provided by the government of India, right? When goods are standardized qualities, the consumer is not very much, consumer need not to care about the quality of the product, because the product is having standardization mark or standardized marks, then it is the guarantee that the product is having that quality which is being claimed by the manufacturer of that particular product, right? For example, manufactured products with ISI marks are very popular among the consumers because their quality standards are better as compared to other products. The other marks other than ISI mark are Eco mark, FPO mark, and Egg mark. Right. So these are the four different marks that are normally used or that you might have seen in your day-to-day life. Now, let us talk about ISI mark. What is ISI mark? Okay, ISI mark is not given by ISI Pakistan, right? It is an Indian mark right? Which is normally you might have seen on the electrical appliances, right? So what is ISI mark? Let us understand that. This mark used popularity in India, particularly after the setting up of Bureau of Indian Standards (BIS) in the year 1986. In the year 1986, Bureau of Indian Standards was being set up, and this Bureau of Indian Standards provide this ISI mark to the product, and this ISI mark enjoys a great market brand equity in case of products. Particularly the consumers are very interested in having quality marks on different products, right? I as a consumer personally always look for certain standardization marks on the product, because these standardization marks are the guarantee of quality, right? This mark symbolizes the standardization of the quality control in production of the product, right? It means the presence of ISI mark means that the quality standards is strictly in accordance to the quality standard as provided by Bureau for Indian Standard BIS, right? That means the product is being manufactured using the same quality standard as provided by BIS. Improper use of the mark means if you are using ISI mark without permission, or without you have to apply for ISI mark, and your product will be inspected by BIS, and then only you will be given that ISI mark. If you are using it unlawfully, like without getting your product inspected with BIS, you are using BIS mark, ISI mark, then in that case it's an offense, and you may be punished for that. You will be punished for that. What may be, right? So you cannot use ISI mark without the proper procedure. You can only use ISI mark only when your product is getting ISI certified, right? This mark is developed for 12 to 15 products, including agriculture implements, electrical goods, baby foods, electronic items, food stuffs, drugs, cosmetics, utensils, textiles, furnitures, sports goods, paints, carpets, and detergents. ISI mark is available for all these category of goods that I have mentioned right now, that you might be able to see on the slide. All are these category of good different category of goods for which ISI mark is available. Now moving on to the next slide, eco mark. Now let us see what is eco mark. We have already seen ISI mark. What is eco mark? Eco mark is evolved by the Ministry of Environment under the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, right? So this scheme was evolved under this act in which is of in the year 1974, right? So the eco mark was evolved by the Ministry of Environment under the Water Prevention and Control or Promotion Act 1974, right? And the other act was Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981. This mark, that is the eco mark, is evolved under these two acts, right? Now the license or again BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards, issue this eco mark to the product. Okay, eco mark may be issued to different products, again by Bureau of Indian Standards. Now what is happening? The products which are covered by eco mark are toilet soap products, paper, detergents, right, etc. Manufacture of these products are required to display the ingredients with their weights and percentage which are used in the product, along with our, right, what are the critical ingredients that are being used in the product, what in what quantity they are being used, and in what percentage they are being used in manufacturing the products, right? After disclosing this information, the government, the BIS authorities inspect the product accordingly, and if your product qualify these standards according to the BIS as per the eco marks, then your product will be awarded with the eco mark, and you can legally use that eco mark on your product, right? Right. So this particular eco the main objective of eco mark is to minimize harm to the environment by the product, right? And that is the reason the manufacturers are encouraged to use the recycle material for the products, right? Now coming down to the next, FPO mark, right? It was the eco mark, now it is the FPO mark. FPO means food processing order mark, right? It is issued by the rules framed under the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act 1954. Adulteration Act 1954 is the act which is governing that this FPO mark, and this FPO mark is issued under this act. Again, the mark is used on the food products like jams, jellies, masalas, chutneys, pickles, sauces, and squashes. These are the different categories of foods for which FPO mark is used. And this FPO mark is comes under which act? I have already told you about this, right? And again, this mark is issued by Bureau of Indian Standards. Next, and the last is your egg mark, right? Now this egg mark is issued by the authorities constituted under the Agriculture Produce Grading and Marketing Act 1937. Right, 1937. This is the governing act for egg mark. Now manufacturers may use the egg mark for the products like edible agriculture products including mustard oils, ghee, butter, eggs, fruit, vegetables, etc. Right? These are some of the agricultural products on which this egg mark may be used, right? And definitely, yes, there are certain quality standards that your product need to be follow in order to get the egg mark, and egg mark may be attained legally through a legal procedure. And after attaining the egg mark certification, you can use egg mark for on those products particularly which have been put on inspection for this particular egg mark, and then you may legally use the egg mark on your product. It also includes pulses, jaggery, spices, etc. These are some of the basic products on which you can use egg mark, right? Now grading, uh, I believe this up to this mark it is enough grading, you need not to learn about because branding ends with this.